So I'm at my buddy Ron's house again, and I'm treating myself to becoming debt-free. I'm buying this grandfather clock off of him. It's an Embee. It's a Bim Bam chimes with 5 rods, 3 on one side and 2 on the other. There's one on eBay, very similar to it. They're asking $27.50 for it. Now, Embee, from the research that I did on it, is very valuable, very well clockmakers. There's another Embee that has it's different style that's on eBay, and they want $3,900 for it. What I paid for it's none of y'all's business. But I'm treating myself. And I told my friend Ron that I got somebody who wants to buy a grandfather clock off of me. And I'm going to quote him a certain price. And if he buys this clock off of me, I'm subtracting what I paid my buddy Ron. And I'm going to split the money between Ron and myself. Look at those weights in the pendulum. Look at the design in that. And I hope the guy doesn't want this clock. Not that I need another grandfather clock in my house. I already have 14 in my house. But I can't change it. Oh, okay. As you can see, there's 3 rods on one side and 2 on the other, and the clock has been keeping perfect time, so I'm going to screw it up when I do this. The hammers on the left side need to be adjusted a little bit, but it's no big deal. The seatboard comes out, the dial, the movement comes out. Now, wouldn't y'all love to have a clock like this in your house? Look at the size of those weights, and look how huge they are, and look how beautifully designed they are. And that pendulum. Now, I know Robert Lindsay would love to take some mothers to this stuff and shine it all up. But I don't know if I'm going to or not. But look how beautiful the dial is. The leaf matches the pendulum. What a beautiful, beautiful clock. And it would be considered a 24-hour clock because of the 24 here. For those who don't know what a 24-hour clock is, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, etc. And then it goes 12 o'clock, 1300, 1400, 1500. It's Greenwich time, but the military uses 24-hour to tell the time. And so a lot of people don't know how to time using, don't know how to tell the time. If I told them it was 1900 hours, they wouldn't know what the heck I was talking about. But I'll give you a hint. It would be 7 p.m. Beautiful clock. Beautiful. Love it. And this is what happens when I come see my buddy Ron. He always makes me want to take a clock home. And this is a clock I'm taking home. It's my present to myself for being a conservative for the past 4 or 5 years, paying off my debt. And there was a time change that happened last night where we went back an hour, fall back. In the fall, you fall back. In the spring, you spring forward. And so it's actually 110 right here. Sorry, 109 versus 209. So I got the grandfather clock home, and it's on my sawhorses here. I got the movement out, it's over here, and the weights. I'm going to clean up the case and put the movement back in after I check it. I believe my friend oiled it, and it was running fine at his house, so I don't need to clean up the movement. I just want to clean up the case. And I think I want to turn this panel around so it's the same color as all the other wood. Back, I'm not going to turn the panel around, and this is the reason why. It'd be a lot of work to take that panel out. So I got some stain, and I might stain this panel. Be screwing it up, but this gel stain hickory that I'm going to put on there. I just don't like the lighter color. I'd rather have darker color than a lighter color. And my first coat, and after it dries, I'll rub it off and it'll look better. When you're cleaning up a case, you want to make sure you flip the clock all over and make sure you clean the bottom. This was really filthy to start with. I'm going to add a little bit more. I'm using Howard beading wax, and the first coat of stain made it a little bit darker. I'm going to put another coat of stain after a while to see if I can get it even darker, but it's looking better. I wired the latches shut. That way the doors don't come open and the glass breaks. You gotta do whatever it takes to keep your clock from breaking, I guess. And I said this before, whether you use Howard beading wax or New Life Furniture Mask or Old English oil or whatever, your wood needs a drink. And you could see this is where I start, and this is before, this is the after. You see the difference? I do not suggest using the spray furniture polish that just chemicals. I just don't suggest it. But whatever you use, it would be better than nothing. And this is kind of a present to myself. I paid more for this clock than I have any of my other grandfather clocks. And I was telling my friend this is the most expensive clock I ever bought. However, that's not true. After my divorce, or I take that back. When I was separated from my wife, I was staying with my aunt. She didn't accept any rent or anything. So for Christmas, I was in Jonesboro and I stopped at Big Lots and I bought a grandmother clock for her, and I paid almost $400 for this clock, brand new clock. After my aunt passed, I got the clock back and I gave the clock to my ex-wife and her husband for Christmas. But it's a beautiful clock, and I did pay a little bit of money for it, but I love it. Even though it's a Bim Bam chime, it's still a really cool clock. So I came back and wiped the case off with a lint-free clean rag. And this is the first coat of that stain. I want to add another coat of stain to this panel right here. It's making it a little bit darker, but I like to see if I can get it a little bit darker. Believe it or not, the stain is actually the same color as the wood, because I got some on it and I just brushed it on the wood, and you don't see the difference. I gotta let this dry. I used a paintbrush because it's a thick coat stain. You can see the streaks. I'm gonna let it dry and then rub it in, and then probably put another coat on it. But it's looking a lot better than what it was. Here's a clock very similar to my clock, except for I think the eagle might have been added. And then they went $200 for it, not working but has potential. And then here's one where they want $1,000 for it. My mother purchased this clock, but I can't move it to my new home. Great clock. And you will see that the bottom square is a different color than the rest of the clock, just like my clock, except for there's roses or some sort in that square. Let me see if I can magnify image. So, I think the color might have been done on purpose. And I think there was some trim that was loose on this clock. I don't know if this hole right here is a keyhole or whether it's missing some trim. But anyway, it's a beautiful clock. It looks just like almost very similar to my clock. Then here's one that they're selling on eBay for $27.50 or best offer. That looks very similar. The weights are very similar. The pendulum is very similar. A lot of it is very similar to my clock. Now I want to see what the NAWCC has to say about the Embee clock. And here's somebody saying they inherited one. Dial looks very similar to mine. It's got the 1 million on it. It looks like the exact same movement. The clock is a little bit different from mine. I might have to sign into the NAWCC. Case is different from mine. Sorry, technical difficulties. Someone says they think it's earlier between the wars. Others may know. Embee Moth Burrow Gym was registered December 17th, 1924, so no earlier than that. So, late 20s clock, I would say. And that's all the NAWCC has to say about it. Like I said, here's Embee's 1920s clock that they want 2750 for. It looks very similar to mine, except for mine's got fancy stuff at the bottom. I'm not for sure if this is an Embee's clock or not. It's marked Embee, and they're saying 1890s, but it's marked Embee, and that was registered in 1927. But this clock here looks very close to my clock. Sorry, I don't want to go through all their videos. It's a 3-weight clock. Mine's a Bim Bam chimes, so another Embee 3-weight clock, not mine. Here's one that's sold. Looks very similar to mine. I'm gonna have to log in to find out what it's sold for. Stand by. It's what I really suck about. I hardly ever get on my Yahoo email account. This is what I suck about today's technology, because there's so many thieves out there that you have to verify it's you all the time. And I keep my phone on airplane mode all the time for these videos. So now I have to take it off airplane mode to sign in my Yahoo account. My phone on airplane mode because I'm the admin for 2 different groups, and because people contact me with clock questions, it'll disturb these videos. Anyway, I signed in, and unfortunately this clock only sold for $200, and that was back in 2019. And the clock looks very similar to my clock. Very similar. But as I've told you in videos, grandfather clocks, they're not selling that much anymore because they take up a lot of space. Here's a Georgian antique clock It's got 7 days left on it. Estimate between $300 and $400. It's sad. And current bid is $150. Um, but because they take up a lot of space, and because a lot of people don't know anything about clocks, because they don't want to pay to have somebody come out and set the clock up for them, they give them away. It's a different world that we live in now, and that's why I got most of my grandfather clocks for less than $100. I paid a little bit more for this one, but it was a thing. It was a present to me because I'm debt free now, and so I deserved an award. But like I said, I got somebody interested in buying a grandfather clock off of me, and I'm going to offer them this grandfather clock, but for a little bit more than what this one sold for. Estimate, and this is back in 2019 when clock prices were still up and only sold for $200, but I don't know whether they plus 23% shipping, and I don't know whether or not 23% buyer's premium, and I don't know whether or not it was shipped or somebody picked it up or whatever. If it was shipped, then you had to consider how much it was going to cost to ship it. There was an internet bid of $175, competing bid $200. Probably somebody was there live when they bought it. Here's a beautiful three-way Embee clock. It was sold in December 2023. 7.5 feet tall. I don't know what it sold for. It doesn't say. And here's the microdisc database, trademark database I always use. Registered 17 December 1924. So, in a circle or in a diamond, they were both registered in 1924. So the clock is still 100 years old, or give or take, or close to being 100 years old. Still an antique. So, anyway, I hope y'all enjoyed this video. Please leave me some comments. May God bless each and every one of you. The case all cleaned up. Even the bottom looks a lot better than what it did. Like I said, this is a Bim Bam Strike, and there's the maker of the clock, Embee. It's a Bim Bam Strike. It has 3 gong rods on one side and 2 gong rods on the other side. The movement is very easy to put in. It just slides in on those slots. There's nothing that holds the movement in, though. 0.4 millimeters thick. It has this adjusting piece right here to adjust the pendulum to get it in beat. Down here, there's a name. Over here, there's the Embee symbol, and then L. Milton, or I'm not for sure what that says. 1 million, maybe. That's what it says. I don't know if Embee was the maker of the clock or whether they sold the clock. That's still undetermined. But like I said, the clock worked just fine at my friend's house. So I'm going to put it back in the case. We'll put the weights on and get it to tick away. There's this pull string here, and I'm sure it's to catch it up. That would have been the hour. Maybe not. Remember, it's a bim bam strike, so it's going to play bam bam per one number. And it should be 7 o'clock, so it's going to basically strike 14 times. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Maybe I counted wrong. But anyway, it's a beautiful clock, and it's up and running in my house, and no, I do not need any more grandfather clocks. I have 15 now, but I got somebody interested in buying a grandfather clock, and I'm going to offer this to that person for a decent price. I didn't count wrong, and I'm fixing to show you. That's a half hour. Now you can watch these chime rods if you want. This should be 10 o'clock. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Well, that time it did it right. From 7 o'clock to 9 o'clock, it only struck 6 times. And so I thought I was going to have to take this movement back out. I'll keep an eye on it. But if the rack's not dropping correctly, then, or if it's not adjusted correctly, then it's not going to strike correctly. But anyway, I hope y'all like this video. And again, please leave me comments, subscribe to all the channels that I mentioned, and may God bless each and every one of you. I really need to stop the clock because it's only 6:15 here, and start it back up at 10 o'clock.